I am currently in the room next to my pharmacy. This is my lunch break, and I'm not sure how the audio and the lighting are going to work, but I am using a water bottle and a coffee mug as my tripod right now. Just wanted to give a quick training update. So I haven't had too much time to do updates or to do things aside from working and training and living life, and just wanted to take this time, and I've managed to make the music in the background go away, so this is really exciting. So my next meet is in about 12 weeks. It is Boston NorCal, another USAPL meet, and I'm really excited for it. I still haven't completely figured out my approach going into it, and I need to do that pretty soon. Right now my splits have been pretty regular. I'm on a really strange 2-week split because my schedule kind of works in 2-week blocks. So kind of getting the hang of figuring out when the best times for doing certain lifts are, like time of day and fooding plans around it and how awake I'll be. But oftentimes things aren't completely ideal, but it's always better to get something in than to not. And I've started to film my training a little more now, because sometimes when I go, the gym is really busy or my lifts are kind of rushed, and as everyone who films their training knows, filming training takes a little bit longer. So setting that up and reviewing your videos, you tend to kind of lose track of time a little bit faster. But I will be uploading those clips probably along with this video. I get a chance to edit and put it all together. So yeah, things have been pretty good. My elbow is still a little beat up, and I'm trying to figure that out. That was kind of what was messing with me going into the last meet, and luckily the day of the meet things went okay, but leading up to it, I think when I get to bench pressing over 185 or handling weight over 185 frequently, it starts to feel a little funky, but in the 70 to 80% range of my max, it feels fine. So I haven't quite figured that out yet. I think it's from an old gymnastics injury, honestly. Changed my mentality a little bit going into this meet. Still a little iffy. I'm right in between weight classes, so my weight holds pretty steadily between 130 and 132 pounds, around like 60 kilos, 60 to 61 kilos. And my last meet, my weight was at its lowest, so it was a weight PR, but I was still competing in the 63 kilo class, and I originally had actually signed up for 57 because I thought maybe it would be doable. And at the time I'm not really super duper strong. I'm not going to be like a record setting person in either weight class, honestly, but I know that at 57 kilos I'd be a little more competitive if I wanted to do a national meet at some point a little bit later on. Right now I'm still a noob, honestly. I've done a few meets, but I feel like I have so much more room for improvement, and it's really rewarding to be able to see improvement with how far I've come so far. But I know that, as with many things, the more you do it and the better you get, the harder it is to make a little more progress. So in your first few years of lifting, you can make great progress in like the first few mesocycles. Like you can see great progress, and then it kind of tapers off, and when you've been training or lifting for like a decade or a little bit more than that, you get to a point where you can still make progress, but it's a lot smaller, and so the amount of work you have to put in to get the progress, it slows down. So that's a little discouraging, but that's another rant for another time. So I ended up competing in the 63 kilo class, as I have been, and I set a personal challenge to try to improve my lifts a little bit and try to decrease my weight a little bit each time. As someone who's 5'1" and fairly small, I personally don't think I should be as heavy as I am, and I think I do carry my weight pretty well, but I think ultimately I would like to become a smaller individual. I'd say I feel a little bit better when I'm lighter, but going into a meet as you lift heavier things, because usually as you peak, you're gonna want to lift heavier. That's just kind of how it goes. You don't lift lighter like going into a meet. So to prepare yourself to lift heavy things. So it does kind of make a difference if you lose like a couple centimeters or inches of girth here and there. Leverages change, so I have to take that into account, but that's the long-term plan. So I think I'll be okay whether or not I go into the 57 or 63 kilo class, but I think this is my first time really acknowledging that has kind of been an issue, just a goal that I haven't reached yet, and I also am not sure if that's something I need to reach. That's the other thing, is I think it wouldn't be too hard to just cut down to a lower weight class or just to be a certain weight if I really wanted to, but my goal is still ultimately to progress and lift heavier. So cutting down doesn't quite make sense if that'll make me weaker, even though with the Wilks I may still be about the same strength. So still trying to figure that out. And as far as training goes, I have been incorporating something a little bit different into my training. It's Amraps, something that I've never done before. So as many reps as possible. I've been doing that with my squat, bench, and deadlift, and for the last few weeks. So I'll do those and do an Amrap about once a week with each of those. And I do the main movements about once a week, and I do a variation of the movement one other time a week. So frequency is not too crazy right now. I feel like that helps my parts get beat up a little bit less, and it's something that I've kind of borrowed from Kaizen, Omar's program. And so I started off at 70%, doing 3 sets of 5, and then on the last set, the 4th set, I do an AMRAP, and if I can get 8 or above, like 9 or 10, then the next week I'll go up 2.5%, so I'll do 72.5% of my 1 rep max. And the idea with that is to give me some kind of structure to follow for now before I figure out what I'm actually going to do for the meet. And I've seen some progress. It's kind of weird for me to start at 70% because 70% is not, it doesn't feel too hard for me, but it also gives me a chance to have an idea for what certain percentages feel like. But going to like, I guess to the point where I'm like 80%, it feels a little bit harder. And something that's actually been a struggle for me doing something like an AMRAP has been with the idea of increasing the weight only if you make like over 8 reps on that AMRAP. I don't like failure. So when I get to the point where that week I made 8 reps, so 6 to 8 reps means you're going to want to repeat that percentage again the next week, versus if you make like 9 or 10, then you can go up 2.5% the next week, and that's an idea of progression. I have a fear of failure, so for a long time I didn't want to do this because I felt like if I didn't make the 9 or 10 reps at least, and in order to progress, I would feel like I failed, and I didn't like that. But having this mentality, understanding what it feels like to fail, actually fuels me. So it's kind of a bummer, but I actually try not to let it hinder my mentality going into training that much, because I know that that's part of it, and you have to actually really embrace that mentality to be able to succeed in this kind of program. You can't just avoid pushing yourself because you're afraid you're not going to make it. So that's something that I have realized. So thank you so much for listening, and I will be making more updates soon. Going to go drink the rest of my coffee and stretch out for the next few minutes of my break.